Salty and sweet, this mouth-watering treat will be your new favorite way to elevate the average pickle. Pickled watermelon rind is not only super economical, but it is so tasty. I had never tried it before, so I couldn't wait, and it tasted exactly like I hoped it would. There are so many ways to enjoy them, and they're super easy to make. I found this recipe in the vintage 1950s community cookbook from the Ladies Society Congregational Church in Springfield, South Dakota. So let me show you how I made them. First, you'll need to prep your watermelon rind. The easiest way I found is to cut off both ends so it can sit stably on your cutting board without rolling around. Then slice off the rind, leaving as much of the red fruit behind as possible. Then cut off all the outer skin. I used a sharp knife, but a veggie peeler works as well. Cut the rind into whatever shape you prefer. I did small squares at first, then quickly realized how cute it would be in fun shapes using my mini cookie cutters. So I did a combination of shapes. I love how the stars came out. Once that's all prepped, it's time to soak the rinds in salt water overnight. The recipe doesn't say how much salt to use, so I used a handful, dissolved in about 8 cups of water for 1 watermelon. That might seem like a lot, but it's the only salt we add, and we'll be discarding the water after it soaks, so the only salt will be what the watermelon absorbs. I used coarse ground sea salt, but there are other options, so check out the video I posted earlier about tips and tricks for the perfect pickle if you need help picking what salt to use. I'll link it below. Pour that over your rinds and store it in the fridge. The next day, drain and rinse your soaked rinds. One thing I didn't expect is the rinds to shrink by at least 1/4. Of course, I should have realized that since soaking in salt water will dehydrate the rind. It just never occurred to me. So be prepared to have quite a bit less volume after the salt soak. So now that the rind is soaked, it's ready to pickle. Grab a pot that is safe to boil acidic solutions in, like enameled cast iron. For more on why it's important to use the right kind of pot, I posted a video that talks about the best tools for pickle making, so I will link that below as well. Add the brown sugar and vinegar. I used apple cider vinegar because I think it's the best for flavor with this recipe, but white vinegar works just fine. Usually white vinegar is used in pickle recipes to avoid changing the color of the pickle, but since we're already using brown sugar, the color is already going to be dark, so I think the flavor is more important in this case. Now add your spices. The recipe does not say exactly how much to use, but I used 2 cinnamon sticks and about 1/2 teaspoon whole cloves. It also recommends tying the spices in sacks so you can remove them before you transfer it to a jar, but I just left mine loose and poured them right into the jar, and I think it came out great. Totally up to you which method you prefer. Then add your drained watermelon rinds and bring that to a boil, simmering for 15 to 20 minutes. Now it's time to transfer them to a sterilized jar. Seal it up and let it cool to room temp before placing it in the fridge for long-term storage. The pickles are ready to enjoy almost right away, but they just get better as they marinate, so they best enjoyed the next day. They are absolutely delicious enjoyed on their own, but one of my favorite summer recipes is a watermelon feta salad. So my favorite way of enjoying these as an appetizer is a sort of deconstructed watermelon feta salad. You can use the fresh fruit of the watermelon cut into balls that have been then sliced in half. Skewer that on a toothpick and then place a piece of feta next. Top that with a fresh mint leaf and finish off with a watermelon rind pickle. It's a delicious, fresh, summery appetizer you will crave year-round. I am so grateful Mrs. Boschma shared her recipe in her community's cookbook so I can enjoy it 75 years later. I hope you enjoyed it enough that it encourages you to save more of these vintage spiral-bound community cookbooks and cook more old recipes.